Now, Singapore and Australia are taking their partnership further with plans to boost connectivity and economic links and explore new areas of collaboration.
Details were revealed after a meeting between Singapore's Prime Minister and the visiting Australian PM. Li Liying reports.
Singapore is Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison's first stop in Asia on his overseas trip after winning the country's recent federal elections. His one-day visit is part of the comprehensive strategic partnership between both countries, where the Prime Ministers meet annually to discuss bilateral cooperation and exchange views on regional and international developments. During a joint news conference, Prime Minister Hsien shared how both countries can further their partnership.
We also explored other new areas of collaboration, for example in cybersecurity, food security and the digital economy. Discussions on the digital economy are still at an early stage, but there is scope to deepen our collaboration, particularly in areas like e-invoicing, digital identities, e-payments and artificial intelligence. The two of us have tasked our trade ministers to lead these efforts and to find ways where we can break new ground and report back to us by October this year. And this will pave the way for a new form of economic engagement and trade.
The digital economy is going to be so critical to our productivity, for our economic growth, and the selection of working in this area I think is important, as it is a demonstration of the close working relationship our two countries have.
Also discussed how Singapore can learn from Australia in combating foreign interference, as the country passed new laws in June last year.
The internet and social media have now provided new tools for foreign parties to conduct hostile information campaigns to reach a large domestic audience very quickly, very cheaply and under the cover of anonymity. And so the problem has morphed and become much more serious. Our current thinking is broadly aligned with Australia's approach, and that is to detect early, to expose such an effort early. And we want to put in place safeguards and disclosure requirements at all the likely entry points: funding, key leadership roles in organizations, or mass information or disinformation campaigns on the social media.
On 5G infrastructure, the leaders emphasized the importance of sovereignty. Australia has banned Chinese company Huawei from building its 5G networks, and Mr. Morrison was asked if he would dissuade PM Lee on Singapore's approach towards its 5G infrastructure.
When asked, always happy to go into some of our own analysis to how we make our decision, but the decisions of others is completely and entirely up to them. And we do not see it as our role, whether here in Singapore or anywhere else, as being an advocate for a decision one way or the other.
We are all concerned about foreign interference in our domestic politics and in our networks. The question is what degree of risk you are prepared to take, what is an effective measure to counter this, and what's the best way to proceed. And different countries will make their own assessments. Each one has to come to its own conclusion, and we respect each other's conclusions.
The Prime Ministers also reaffirmed the state of bilateral relations and reviewed ongoing partnerships under the Comprehensive Strategic Partnership signed in 2015. Singapore and Australia are jointly developing military training areas in Queensland, which will eventually see some 14,000 SAF personnel trained there for 18 weeks a year. Now, the deal will last for 25 years, and both countries are looking forward to finalizing this arrangement via a treaty by the end of this year. Now, both countries are also looking forward to concluding an open skies agreement and updating the avoidance of double taxation agreement by 2022.
PM Lee and PM Morrison also expressed confidence that talks for a huge regional trade pact can be wrapped up by the end of this year. The Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, otherwise known as RCEP, involves 16 nations, namely the 10 ASEAN members, as well as Australia, China, India, Japan, New Zealand and South Korea.
We're reasonably confident that with sufficient political will and the willingness to make difficult trade-offs, it's possible to conclude the RCEP by the end of 2019. It's a key priority for all of the RCEP participating countries. The leaders of these countries last met in November when we announced that the negotiations had made substantial progress in 2018, and also expressed a strong political commitment to push for the conclusion of the negotiations by end 2019 under Thailand's chairmanship.
This is an important opportunity. It has had some frustration in terms of the many electoral cycles of its partners, particularly over the first half of this year, but with much of that now completed, I think there is a very good opportunity for considerable focus to be placed on this and to meet that timetable. We think it's a very important agreement for our region.
Mr. Morrison later attended a meeting with the Australian Chamber of Commerce in Singapore. He said he hoped to expand growing cooperation on shared regional objectives, including defending international rules and norms that help trade.
He noted that the global trading system is under pressure from the US-China trade conflict and reiterated Australia's commitment to regional stability.